Hello guys, welcome to Nectarpost. I'm Mohammad Elias and today I'll be your host. Please share and subscribe to my videos. Types of constants that we have. These concepts are basically divided into two parts. One is primary constant, another is secondary constant. So primary constants are integer constant, real constant and character constant. And on secondary constant we have arrays, pointers, structures, union and enum. So we'll cover secondary constant in a later session. So there are different rules when it comes to primary constant. So let's start with the first rule on integer constant. So whenever you define any integer value, your integer must have at least one digit. Can be positive or it can be negative. Now let's say if I define an integer, let's say integer I equals to 10. So if I don't define any sign, so in that case it will be always treated as positive integer. Integer I equals to, let's say if I say 10. Case there is no comma or blank is allowed, so I cannot do this. And the last point is it should not have any decimal points. So in that case we call it as an integer value. And when it comes to range of integer, it is from it ranges from -32 768 to +32 767. So this is an integer range in case of sign integer. So similarly, let's look at the different rules for real constant and then character constant. So when it comes to real, basically there are two things that we need to see. Real constant can be either in fractional form or it can be in exponential. To start with, we'll start with what is a fractional form of an integer, then we'll go with a exponential form. So when it comes to a fractional form, a real constant must have at least one digit. It is same as that same rule applicable even in case of integer. It should have at least one decimal point. It can be either positive or negative. Default sign is positive. No commas or no blank spaces are allowed. Now to give an example, when we say, let's say if I say float f is equals to 10.2. So this is an example of float. So similarly there will be another form which we call as an exponential form. So that will have two parts, that is exponent and a mantissa. Then last form, that is a character. So when it comes to character, so whenever you define a character, so we define as a char, where let's say if I say char some xyz, I'm giving some character name is equals to, I have to define some character within an inverted comma. So when it comes to data types, we have primitive data types or derived data types, and then we have something called user defined data types. In case of primitive data types, we have character, integer, float or double, and then void. And in case of derived type, it is again, derive is divided into different forms. One is signed, so which can be either positive or negative. Then we have unsigned, so which is always a positive number. And then we have something called long double, which is a combination of long and double type. So you can see we have double plus long. Then the third is user defined type, so that is an array, struct, union and enum. So these are the different data types available in C. So before executing, I have defined integer type, then float, then double and character. So when we define this data within process, there will be some memory which will be allocated for stack and some memory is allocated for heap. Right now we'll see only different types of memory that has been allocated. So whenever we say integer type or float, double and character, so these data will allocate memory in stack. And to define this memory in heap, in that case we use different functions such as malloc and calloc. So we'll see malloc and calloc in later memory management. So right now you can just think of integer, float, double and character. So this data, whatever I have data types that I have defined, this will allocate memory in stack. And size of, that will give me a size of, what is the size of integer, data type which is allocated within a memory, size of float, size of double and size of character. So let me quickly run this program. Integer is allocated for 4 bytes. Same for float. For double it is 8 and 1 byte for character. Unsigned character, it is 1 byte. So when it comes to signed character, it is minus 128 to 127. So in case of unsigned character, 1 byte. So instead of starting from minus 128, it will start from 0 to 255. Similarly for signed char, it is minus 128 to 127. Integer, 2 bytes for 32-bit machine and 4 bytes for 64-bit. And then this is the number, positive to negative, minus 32 to plus 32, 767. When it comes to unsigned integer, again it is 0 to 65, 535. So it will not start from minus. Then similarly we have something called short, unsigned short, long and then unsigned long.